Museum of Aircraft Construction and Technical History. Fokker V.1 in detail. A bilingual edition with German and English texts. Authors Jerry Moss and Achim Engels. A technical and historical description of this most innovative Fokker design. Content. Foreword. Introduction. Other forward designs. Testing structures. What does it mean? General description of the V1. V1's unique features. The Fokker factory photographs. Aileron control. Flight tests. The issue of V.1 Size. Conclusion of photos and other source studies such as pre-V1 work, V1 constructional, V1 ready to fly, V1 first modification, V1 second modification, V1 third modification. Development of a 3D model. Overall conclusions. The 3D model of the Fokker V1. Further information. Sources. Further reading. Appendix A. D.VIII Norm number 9. Appendix B. Additional testing images. Appendix C through E. And finally, meet the authors. Foreword. This book is a rewrite of the original articles published in World War I Aero by Jerry Moss. The reason for this rewrite is to incorporate new information and to reformat the book to match up with the other in detail publications. Plus, as a publication by the Museum for Flugzeugbau und Technische Geschichte, in detail, the information about this fascinating aircraft will be more readily available to a broader audience. Special thanks to Achim Engels for his input, review and checking of the German content. Also to Tom Gaylord for his review and input. Jerry Moss, author. Introduction. In the early days of monoplanes and biplanes, the focus had been on thin wings with lots of external wire bracing. Early aircraft like the Fokker Spider were known as Spider for the amount of bracing wire holding the structure together, which was likened to a spider's web. Fokker was looking for a simple structure with the required internal strength to avoid external bracing wires. Other forward designs. Whilst the V1 was ahead of its time, other manufacturers were also pushing new ideas forward, such as the Junkers J1 all-metal ground support and attack aircraft operational in 1917, designed from a long line of earlier all-metal aircraft by Hugo Junkers. The Gullwing Aviatik C5 appeared in 1917 as an experiment to deal. Testing the structures. One thing is very obvious. There was lots of experimentation and testing and learning by trial and error going on. Also included are photos that are not V1 related to help aid the understanding the development towards the new design. Some of these non-related images show the thinking at the time. The wing incidence trial with photos number 804 and 807 are good examples. Some photos are not available at this time. In all, some 329 photos were studied, some discounted as they are not related to the subject in some way. The standard D.VIII that is, Inspectorate of the German Army Air Service, static load tests were: Case A, pulling out of a dive; Case B, steep glide; Case C, front pressure. 198, box bar, Case B test number 110, failure at 1420 kilograms, should be 3.8-fold load. Photo 799, open structured rib ply, test number 108, 425 kilograms, 11-fold load. Photo 800, test number 1. What does it mean? What all these images tell us is that Fokker used a lot of testing to try out new arrangements with steel and plywood configurations. Secondly, that the attention to detail and the exploration of new ideas is very evident. Mixed material structures of steel, wood and duraluminum were all tried, looking for the best combination. While some of these ideas may have come from links with Junkers, they show Fokker taking a different approach. Plywood is heavily used in many test pieces, and there appears to be a drive to understand what the material could withstand and how best to use it. It would be interesting to understand what the relative cost of plywood was manufactured to a desired specification. General description of the V.1. The Fokker V.1 was a radical departure from the conventional contemporary aircraft design and thinking. The wings were of thick airfoil section. The flight controls were all moving sections, wingtip ailerons rotating on a torque tube. The V.1's unique features: aerodynamically balanced all-moving wingtip ailerons. 1. The first practical application was in Blériot's 6 Libellule, or Dragonfly of 1907. Similar all flying control surfaces for the elevators and rudders, all aerodynamically balanced. 2. The rudder size was reduced in the last modification phase. The Fokker factory photographs. Each photo has a caption with an interpretation of the photo. All Fokker photos sourced from the archive of Museum of Aircraft Construction and Technical History. Photo 843. First, mixed material V.1 lower wing. The structure looks to be predominantly metal, likely to be aluminum, with some plywood and wooden fillers. The spars appear to have plywood webs with 2 aileron control. The aileron control on the Fokker V.1 is a little bit more complicated than on other aircraft. Therefore, we will go through the Fokker factory photographs step by step. Photo 859. Fitted with aileron controls and cable, the control rod 1 connects to torque tube of the control stick via a universal joint. Earlier V.1 upper wing above, showing failed areas. 2. Wing trailing edge cutout for cockpit access. 3. Aft wing strut attachment points. 4. Photo 859. Detail taken out in an enlargement. Detail of aileron control rod. Flight tests. This part deals with the flight tests and ongoing development of the aircraft. While there are no known test records, the photos do indicate a number of changes to the aircraft directly related to handling and maintenance. As in the previous articles, each photo has a narrative giving a view of the photo and its meaning. Apart from Fokker, who flew every new aircraft, it is unclear who else flew the V.1. Photo 873. Showing the aircraft outside the hangar, ready for flight. issue of V.1 Size. What is the size of this aircraft? The dimensions of the V.1 are not known for certain, and the modifications the aircraft underwent during its testing career may explain some of the variations. However, given the data sources, you'd think there might be some alignment, but this is not the case. Sources used were Fokker Type Sheet, Wales' book Fokker the Creative Years, World War I Aero magazine. World War I Aero issue 122 has both the Fokker type data sheet and a comparison between sizes quoted, repeated here. The Fokker Typen document is the only official reliable source of dimension to date for the V1. The other three sources are the originator's measurements and how or where they were obtained. Conclusion of photos and other source studies. Pre-V1 work. There is a development towards the V1 aircraft, and the range of photos show this progressive and very specific test sequences. Tests on various metal and plywood structures with different spar, rib and wing configuration. V1 first modification. Underwing rails, repositioning upper wing. The next sequence of photos from 923 to 930, excluding 925 and 929, show the underwing rails fitted. A hole, air intake possibly, mid-fuselage between the cabane struts. A location that V1 second modification. Engine moved hedge details. Next image 948. V1 third modification, rudder and stabilizer changes. The unknown numbered images 1 to 4 could be in number range 945 to 947 as these. Overall conclusions. There would appear to be at least 4 stages to the development of the V1. Initial design, wing position, underwing rails, engine moved forward and rudder changes. Fokker spent a lot of time and effort getting the wing structures right prior to a full build, with numerous tests of a variety of metal and plywood elements. The structures and designs were unique at the time and showed great promise for light and strong structures. One question that must be asked is why, after spending effort on the V1, did only the V2 and V3 have a family resemblance? Fokker was known for trying out a mix of engines, rotaries and inline on the same airframe. It can only be surmised that the onset of the Sopwith triplane and the High Command's instance on a countermeasure led to the change. 3D model work. All this research was to enable a build of a fully detailed 3D model for Achim Engel's virtual Fokker Museum, so the experimentation began in April 2009. The model has been completed as far as the data information will allow. So the modeling began, with a view that things were going to change as the model developed. The fuselage structure was started first, as it is key to the overall shape and fitting, such as wing position, etc. This work was started in April of 2009 and was completed a year later. Appendix. Appendix A, ITFLIG Norm number 9. Wheel and tire dimensions. Appendix B, additional testing images. There are many other images showing the testing Fokker's experimental department carried out. All images shown here, sourced MFTG archive. Photo 808. Load test of tube supported by wires as a wing spar. 300 kilograms. Photo 809, after the load test. Photo 824, wing spar, test number 103, failed spar attachment. The plywood not able to retain the attachment bolts. Photo 825, wing structure test. Meet the authors. Jerry Moss. He served 15 years in the Royal Australian Air Force, posted around Australia and overseas, as an airframe engineer cross-trained in engines. He has been working with CAD and 3D packages for more than 25 years now. He started out working in 2003 with flight simulators, designing aircraft and many other models for The Sims. The initial focus was on World War I and moved to World War II later. He also likes to build model kits in a mix of scales and subjects. He has been actively collecting historical references and items to create an archive for modeling references. This contains books, magazines, and many electronic files. In 2009, he had his first visit to Achim Engels' place in Germany. The visits have continued each year, one lasting 3 months. Both work on various projects and continue to develop and maintain the historical archive. The focus is still on World War I, but now extends to all items up to 1920. Mossy 3D CAD was set up in 2011 to provide CAD services to anyone with this need. Some projects have been strange and others more aligned to model making. He has customers across the globe, from Alaska to Australia. At Heathrow Airport, the Turkish Airlines Globe has his designed 777 aircraft model on it in 1:10 scale. The majority of the work has been in 1:24 scale kits, including full resin kits. He uses Solid Edge as his CAD package, and it has proven extremely good at turning ideas into working projects. Since early 2020, we have been working together on establishing a line of plastic model kits under the label Fokker Models. Achim Engels. Aircraft enthusiast, aircraft builder, aircraft owner and pilot. Born in 1972 in the German town of Schorndorf, located in the south near Stuttgart in Baden-Württemberg. I started building models at the age of 6, and I remember I had to look upward into the sky any time an airplane passed by. No idea where this interest came from, since I'm the first in my family to love airplanes. I built my first aeroplane when I was quite young, simply because there was no other way to surround myself with aircraft. This first aeroplane was a Fokker triplane. I did it for the Auto and Technics Museum at Sinsheim. Following that, I have written articles and books and published them by myself. Somewhere along this way I stumbled across Jerry and we became good friends. And with all that said, I would like to thank you for listening and hope that you found this audiobook interesting and maybe a bit entertaining. I apologize for any inadequacies in my voice. I'm not a trained speaker, and so there may be smacks, chuckles and slips of the tongue here and there. They are part of life, and I have simply left them in as far as possible. I simply read the book as it was and accompanied it with the corresponding pictures. Of course that's a lot of work and a lot of effort. Especially as I'm doing it bilingually. If you want to support this in any way, think about becoming a supporting member on the museum's Patreon page. It only costs you 5 units of money a month. Apart from that, there are lots of other interesting things there. You can also buy a lot of things in our museum store if you are interested in aviation history and aircraft construction. Things you won't find anywhere else. Drawings, books, articles, photo sets of replica airplanes, etc. The range is constantly growing. Things like this book don't just happen, and analyzing all the source materials takes a long time, in my case now almost 45 years. Nothing comes from nothing, and if you want more of it, some support would be helpful. Otherwise, I can leave it alone. If you can't afford it, you can still get the books as free downloads on our website www.collectorsedition.de/FTS Buchbestellung English.htm, and those who can afford it can also download the same books from our Patreon page for a fee. The museum and its workshop are also happy to receive donations of materials. So if you still have old tools that you don't know what to do with, or usable wood of all kinds as well as plywood, boat varnish, dope, we can always use it. Just send it to our home address. If you don't have any other ideas, you can of course donate to the museum via PayPal. You can do this via PayPal to my email address at engels@fokker-team-schorndorf.de. The museum receives the money directly, so it doesn't go into my own pocket, because I don't do with money anyway, but that's another story. But you are welcome to support the museum with it. Apart from that, I'm delighted if the book was informative and you enjoyed it. See you next time, hopefully with your support. Achim Engels sends his regards.